Alright, hello everyone. In today's video, I'll be talking about training efficient tracking. In debate, you will be expected to spend most of the round listening to other people speak. So, a vital skill that we have to train is tracking, which is just the ability to follow the different points that are launched in a round across different speakers. Specifically, what I want to talk about today is training our intuition to track efficiently. And by that, I mean to filter all of the irrelevant material and take note of the important developments that you should be paying close attention to in a debate round. Efficient tracking is important so that instead of spending all of your time listening to everything as if everything was important, you can budget your attention on constructing your speech, refining your responses, and thinking strategically on the round. Tracking, again, is only helpful insofar as you're able to leverage your notes to your team's advantage. Otherwise, you're merely transcribing with no direction at all. So here are a couple of tips that I think are very helpful. First, listen to a variety of different speakers. Expose yourself to multiple styles of argumentation. Try to think about what makes their arguments different from one another based on their structure, and also notice how different arguments can depend on similar premises or ideas. Take notes on different speeches. Here, I simply invite you to get used to debate speak and different talking points that usually recur among different motions across different topics. Some people might speak faster than you are used to, but it becomes a whole lot easier once you sharpen your ears to get what is essential. More than this, you will learn to observe the nuances in different speech presentation choices. For example, some speakers like to enumerate everything in their argument, maybe even to an excessive degree, and so you can usually identify what their logical path is, while others utilize a more soft structure in their speech, and so you may have to listen more closely on where they are focusing their analysis on. Second, listen with purpose. You are not an audience member that is casually observing, nor are you a judge that has to objectively scrutinize and evaluate multiple arguments in a round. Rather, you are listening with the biased intention to win over other teams in the round. More specifically, if you were the DPM listening to the current LO speech, you should be paying attention to their main responses to your PM's case, their comparatives so that you can compare it against your model, and the specific part of their argument that clashes the most with your team's contribution. If it's still in the opening half and you are a member, then you should be listening for any potential entry points for your extension and continuously looking for gaps in analysis that you can take advantage of. If your speech is over and you are in the opening, then listening can also help you craft a very specific POI that highlights your team's contribution in a better way than closing's attempt at making an extension. These objectives should be clear in your mind while you are listening because it makes your sets of choices, the strategic choices you can make in a round, easier to determine. Third, anticipate the sets of arguments that you think are most likely to be argued in the round. This should be done during prep time and should also be continuously updated during the round while listening as the debate's most contentious issues become clearer to you. Specifically, you can develop your intuition by asking a simple question. What is the most conventional way a team would approach this argument? And what are the crucial parts that it will rely on the most? For example, in a typical debate on allowing teenagers to vote, you would expect a team, naturally, to argue a lot about the political and psychological maturity of the youth. There will be a lot of talk about democracy, but the clash will eventually still boil down on our assumptions on how we talk about the youth. So, you should always be thinking about how to resolve this characterization battle. Of course, expectation may not always meet reality, because often the way the argument is presented will be different from how you imagined it. So you should always adapt accordingly. In the example I just mentioned, maybe they will talk about the benefits and harms of the youth voting, which is not too far from what we said, but it does challenge us to change the way that we would respond. In any case, having this active, preemptive mindset makes it easier for you to take in information instead of listening to the round and going along with it and treating every piece of material as fresh and novel from the current speaker. Lastly, write less. This may sound counterintuitive, but it is exactly what you should be doing if you want to be more and more time-saving and efficient. The less we write, meaning to say that what we write is only the most important, the more time we have to develop our responses and new material in our own speech. So develop your own shorthand techniques to save time on writing things. If you are tracking a response to a response that came later in the debate, then you may use arrows and boxes to connect certain ideas together, which can allow you to later set up your holistic summary when you are making your final response. You should experiment with many different tracking techniques to find out what works best for you. You might find it easier for you to keep a separate sheet of paper to track what each speaker is saying, or you might want to write it in individual index cards so you can rearrange the points better to suit your response structure. It's also helpful to take note of the function of each line instead of just writing the key phrases the speaker says. It makes it a lot easier for you to refer to your tracking if you already color code or highlight it according to mechanisms, premises, conclusions, or series of logical steps, or whatever. The point is to write what is most likely to be essential for you in a way that you can quickly and uniquely understand it for your own immediate use. Alright, that's pretty much it for today's video. Thank you everyone and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.